anything, but one of the features we would like to have in Umbrella is that CNVMe provisioning PR, which implements yet another plugin for similar to video that's plugged into kernel device, which is a pretty low level of BlueStore and BlueFS. And like video plugin, this thing allows to have compression and implemented compression of thin and NVMe provisioning in more general, to have them implemented at the device level. So as a result, instead of doing compression on our own and use CPU resources, one can rely on hardware, for example, hardware compression. And well, actually, VDO performs software compression on device level, but as thin and NVMe provisioning name implies, for this patch, we will have hardware compression. This, apart from plugin itself, which is pretty simple, we also need some changes to statistics reporting for Ceph to make these things more visible to users. And so, for example, one would need to learn the actual capacity used by the device versus data submitted to the device, logical amount of data submitted to the device. And effectively, this PR implements both new statistics, and thin and NVMe provisioning support as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Many questions. So sorry about I was unable to make slides since it's an emergency case for these 2 days. So please take a look at the PR and ask questions.
I now recall there is one more topic that I would really like to research, but I'm not really sure if it can be done for Umbrella. It's an idea to have a special dedicated object store operation that would be intended for Erasure coding. And the idea is, because cloning is a bit problematic and in implementation, we would like to maybe try operation that would basically move the data from one object to another. That seems to have a possibility to be significantly faster. Obviously, only applies to the cases when moved data is allocation unit aligned, which seems to be the case for most of the EC use cases. That's the idea, but as I said, possibly we will not have a time to make a proof of concept in Umbrella for that.
But as far as I understand, that's different task to completely different task to single image provisioning. No?
Yes, that's a unrelated with thin provisioning. That's specifically to make Azure code that overrides just work faster, have less latency.
In that regard, I'm dreaming about a sort of API or implementation which would make object write preprocessing at single daemon primary PG, and then publish the prepared image or prepared set of changes to other replicas, and hence reduce the load on the cluster in general. But maybe that's really a dream, not a technically doable thing.
If
We have
if
different states at different peers, different nodes. For example, location ones, and so. But on the other hand, something like compression, CRC, and maybe something else could be precompiled at primary node.
yeah, that would be interesting if at least primary would send to replicas either variant of compressed data or at least information how well it compressed. That will shorten the try and reject path.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it will delay sending replica data, sending data to replicas, and might increase the overall latency. So right now we send all three data copies at the same time, but with this approach, this would need to wait until primary attempts to compress data and then send to replicas.
Yeah, right. But today we have different set of attendees than yesterday. And yesterday one of the topic was FIE map flavors of zero support. That's a topic that Radek Zarzyński put in the agenda, and that the idea is about having object store, specifically BlueStore, be aware between a distinction to hold a distinction between unmapped region of an object and a region of an object that contains zeros and have it somehow encoded. And why I'm happy that we have different set of people, because I see Lee and Jonathan that do EC. Will it help Azure coding if object store could distinct between unmapped zeros, unmapped region and okay, okay, I will. My worry was that while for the data shards I can fully understand how that can be helpful, but I was worrying that in parity shards there is no way to encode which regions will actually of the basically trashed bits will be mapping to unmapped or zeros or unmapped region. That was my worry. No, it does not. But if that such information was to be held with object, then for data shard, it would be very clear that some part is unmapped, but for the parity shard, I don't know how that could even. Okay, I think I will talk with Bill and Alex because I really like the idea of adding such a feature to object store, but if that would only help replicated pools, then it makes it so much less interesting. Thank you.
Jonathan, were you trying to say something? You might be muted, or your audio may not be working. Yeah, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
I can hear Jonathan
Oh, you can?
properly. No problems from my side.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm unable to hear him.
Fine. How will I look like?
So, Adam, may I ask you to share what you talked about yesterday? Well, maybe in brief.
Mm, Very brief. Please take a look at the Etherpad Anthony Middleton shared CDS umbrella. Can you see that?
Yes.
There are 8 topics. 6 of them have already PRs attached. That's improvements for RocksDB caching. That's
Wait. So I can see the CDS umbrella with list of all the calls, but there is nothing attached. No additional link attached to yesterday BlueStore call.
please
Uh,
scroll down and there is a section for BlueStore that's
I
attached.
see at the top. At the end. Okay.
So there are 6 topics that are already having APRs that we just have to somehow push through. Improvements for RocksDB caching, that's stemming from the fact that we had an issue, actually a bug with a concept of shards in RocksDB cache with condition that sometimes we had very large cache entries in those shards, so big that we basically only could fit one entry, and RocksDB kept evicting entries and refetching them back again, which completely uh, smashed performance. So that's the one topic. The second we already talked about, that's a flavor of Zero support. The next one is support for BlueStore when you don't have a 4 kilobyte page. That's the thing we noticed on PowerPC. They have a 64K by default, and all the problems arise in a connection between buffered writes that we sometimes do basically default in BlueFS and direct writes that go from BlueStore. Sometimes they did write to the same page, completely confusing page cache and writing ultimately bad data to the disk. Next one, fast O-node recovery. That's the thing we want to have for a very large disks to just at least reduce time of rebooting OSDs, so we don't get into down out situation and no rebalancing starts. So we want to have there are two solutions. Either we would expand significantly timings to do such transition, or we can make a recovery faster. Then there is a PR from Gary Drankovic that does optimization on object state on Scrub. Gary's PR currently only invokes recompression and defragmentation, but on the last call of BlueStore meeting, we noticed that also we could fix some other O-node the metadata mappings also with the scrub process. So maybe we can even we should even expand on that PR. Next one is, for a long time now we wanted to improve on how we persist allocation map on BlueFS. It's inefficient, especially when disk state is very fragmented. So that 1.6 and 0.4 really do go along together very well.
Yeah, and in this regard, I would suggest to sync some wording for option 4 and option 6, since currently they look like a completely different tasks. So node recovery and the log map.
No, those are not at all related PRs, but they do affect the same process of shutting down and restarting OSD. That's what I meant. They are related.
Well, node recovery means the process of a log map rebuild, right?
Yes, obviously, yeah.
So, yeah, that's my point. So the names currently are talking about the same processes, but in different words.
Okay, you're correct. They are basically exactly not the same. They are complementary. You either do one or the other.
Okay.
And then there was a quick mention about CPU trace tool, something that we, at least I will be using in BlueStore to verify optimizations when I do PRs that don't give new features, just have some performance optimizations that should help with it. And we already have some PRs from Jaya Prakash Madaka about doing exactly that. It cannot be seen in the PRs themselves, but they have been tested against CPU load. And when they finally get undrafted, I guess they will come with specific numbers. But the last 2 points, the CPU trace tool definitely will get into Umbrella, but it's not specifically part of BlueStore. It's a common thing. And the 0.8, it basically depends if there will be enough benefit to weigh out the size of refactoring, which is currently significant. That's it.
Okay, and one more thing we might want to have in Umbrella is switching default BlueStore locator to hybrid BT2, which shows a bit better performance numbers, but still lack wide adoption and maybe like some elaborate testing.
Yes, that's true. We should do some QA changes so tautology will also pick it up.
Okay. So do we have anything else to discuss?
I would be very happy to hear if someone has some ideas what should be improved in BlueStore, but never had the time or interest to deep dive into.
I don't have any ideas. I was just joining more of a interest-based, learn a bit more about BlueStore and how it's going to be evolving.
The nearest evolution for BlueStore that I plan is just having the same BlueStore but operate faster. We have kind of stable framework now, and the idea is to shuffle the code, reallocate, put memory allocations in some common PMR container and so on to just get it work faster, and also using CPU trace tool revisit all the functions that we think we can modify to squeeze some CPU cycles to just try that, because we had in the past a lot of ideas for changes, but we couldn't prove that they will give any benefit, so we dropped them. With that tool, we intend to only measure CPU burden without, in some specific isolated region, and do not resort to overall latency testing or IOPS testing. Obviously, if the change will cause the IOPS to sync, we will cancel it. But in the most cases, with CPU trace, we can detect stable performance increases about 1%, but with the testing, we have usually a variance about 5%, which invalidates most of the improvements. So that's the improvement plan for BlueStore for the nearest future.
Okay, thank you. That's quite.
Okay, then I think that's it for today. Thanks everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.